Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, a real estate investor helping you realize your dreams of owning a home or investing in one. So I wanted to tell you guys about some things that I learned from attending the Lenders Panel at Pace University. It was sponsored by SBDC, Small Business Development Corporation, which lets us know basically what's available to us as businesses. However, this lenders panel was not only talking about lending money to businesses, but also it can be applied to people who want to be homeowners or real estate investors. Okay, well, I realized that a lot has definitely changed since the time when I started out as a homeowner, and also later on when I started out as an investor. There's a few minor things, all right? But first and foremost, I will say this. You need to shop around. Please do not go with the first bank or lender that you come across, because they all offer different loan programs, different loan products. They charge different fees, etc., etc., etc. Okay, and they also have different requirements. I actually found a bank while I was down there that does not look at your credit score. That is not their determining factor as far as whether to give you money or not. They look at what your mission is. So this bank is really not too much for first-time home buyers. It's really more for businesses. So when it comes to mission, what they're looking for is they're looking for investors who are going to, let's say, build up or bring up a community. So let's say there are a number of houses in an area that needs some TLC. If that company, that said company, will go in and they want the money to renovate those particular properties, then they will loan them the money without necessarily checking their credit score. In addition, this particular bank did have a credit repair program, which if your credit was not up to par, they would have wanted you to complete it. Okay, as a matter of fact, more than one lender on the panel had a credit repair program, but then there were some that didn't have any at all. The ones that didn't have any, they would say things like, well, your minimum credit score has to be 600, and another guy said 650, and another one said 700. So you see, there's these differences, and that's why you have to go and talk to more than one of them and ask them what is their minimum requirement. And then of course there's paperwork that's required. All of them wanted paperwork, but they didn't all want the same paperwork. Okay, and then as far as their fees is concerned, as mentioned before, you know, some have application fees, some did not have application fees. Almost all of them had origination fees, but they cost differently. Same thing with underwriting fees, same thing with closing costs. That's why you have to ask the question. Then came loan terms. Were the terms fixed or adjustable? A lot of the banks, they have fixed and adjustable rates, but if you leave the bank and let's say you go with another type of lender, they may not have anything called fixed or adjustable. Okay, next, you definitely want to ask about prepayment penalty. Some banks do charge prepayment penalty and some do not. By the way, if you are into mortgage notes, you definitely want to read your paperwork to see if that language was included in the contract, and you need to charge accordingly. Even if you hire a servicer, you want to point that out to them, because sometimes they'll overlook that as well. Then another question you want to definitely ask, you want to know is, How long does it take them to actually process the loan? There was one lender that said that it only takes his team 10 days to do it. Another said 30 days. Then you had one that said 60 and another that says 90. So my other thing that I must say to you is, because you're not getting the money right away, typically it's not the next day, you probably should apply for the money before you actually need it. Apply for the money before you actually start house hunting, whether you are a homeowner or an investor. By the way, you can always get something called a pre-approval, which basically lets you know how much you can afford, or how much the bank thinks that you can afford, right? Now, hard money loans and hard money lenders and private money lenders, of course, their turnaround time a lot of times is a lot quicker than that, right? But you still should ask them the question. The next thing, of course, you need to ask them is, what is the maximum amount that they are willing to loan out? Because if they say to you that the maximum that they loan is $500,000, and you're looking at $1 million properties and you don't have $500,000 on your own, well, guess what? That particular lender may not be the best for you. Okay. The next thing you want to know is, where do they issue their loans? What states? What countries? I know I was in a credit union and I had went to them first because I was always told credit unions have better rates, better terms than banks. Well, I went to them and they said to me that they would only loan in the state that I actually happen to live in. They would not loan me money to buy property in Georgia, which is where I looked and eventually did buy property, but I had to go with someone else. Well, actually, it all came out of pocket. Sorry about that. Yeah, my money came out of pocket. I couldn't even get a loan. They wouldn't loan me anything. So, yes, you want to know what states and what countries. You know, there are some banks out here that are only limited to the United States. They will not lend you money if you want to go and purchase property outside of the United States of America. Okay. And then going back to the previous, as well as the maximum, you want to also know what is the minimum amount that they're going to loan you. Because most banks, the property has to be $50,000 or more. If you buy a property that's less than $50,000, like I bought those properties for $25,000, then they're not going to deal with you. Okay. Then the other thing that you want to look at is, do you have to be a U.S. citizen if you are in the United States? Okay. Because one of the banks that was up there, they actually specialize in lending money to immigrants and refugees. They still lent money to U.S. citizens, but they were, from what I can gather, the only ones up there on that particular panel that lend to those two groups. Yeah, some banks want you to be a citizen, or they may want you to be like a permanent resident. Okay, and if you're buying outside of the country and you don't want to use a U.S. bank, then that's another question that you have to ask those people in the country in which you wish to purchase property. All right. The other thing that was brought up was predatory lending. You know, see, a lot of people, unfortunately, they move in desperation because they wait till the last minute in order to get money. And the only people that is willing to hand out money so quick is not going to be, unfortunately, a legitimate source. I had no idea that there were lenders charging people 36% interest a week. That's too much, people. That's way too much. 25% maximum. And that's only if you're a real estate investor and you're going to private lenders and hard money lenders. If you are a regular person who just wants to buy a home that you're going to live in, or even if you're not going to live in, a 1-family home, a 3-family home, what have you, as of today, 6% for a 30-year, 5.8% for 15 years. Now, we all know interest rates do change, but I'm just letting you know that if you are looking right now, those are the interest rates you should be looking at. Nothing higher. Nothing higher. Unbelievable. All right. To be honest with you, when it comes to mortgage brokers, I know some are honest, but most of them that I have run into, not so much. Okay. And I don't care if your friend used this mortgage broker and they found a loan product for them. Here's the tea. Your friend may not necessarily have your same income, may not have your credit, may not have the same expenses as you. So they may have had to go to a mortgage broker. You might not have to, especially if you shop early, especially if you ask the questions. You might not have to. So I'm not saying don't listen to your friend. You can listen to your friend. You can consult with their mortgage broker, but shop around. Ask 1, 2, 3, 5 more people. Attend events like these. Attend home buying seminars where there's more than one bank there, and you can pretty much get that information that you need. All right? And then the last thing that I learned, and it didn't dawn on me, and I'm glad it was brought up, is that, you know what? Every year you really should be taking out a credit line for emergencies. Last year, as I shared with many of you, I had an emergency. I had no idea that my taxes were going to be so high. But it turns out that the accountant, because I switched, made some big mistakes, which is why I ended up with a $40,000 bill on top of the $10,000 that I had to pay for property taxes. Yeah. And at the time, it blindsided me, and I did not have the money. All right. But if I had gone and got myself a credit line ahead of time, I would have been able to pay it off right away. Thank God, yes, I have been able to knock that out of the park, but I wasn't able to come up with that money right then and there at that particular second. And that's why, unfortunately, interest hit, and guess what? Yeah, the amount went up. But if I had that credit line, I would have definitely had enough money to pull out right away and pay it off. Okay. And let's say the whole year goes through and there is no emergency. Well, I normally would have borrowed at 0% interest and just put that money right back. Or the other alternative is, since I am an investor, I know exactly where I would put that money to invest so that I would definitely get my money back in order to pay them back. And I probably would also set up some sort of payment program. Okay? So guys, that is all that I have for you. Hopefully the information that I've shared will help you make smart financial moves. Feel free to pass this amongst your friends. Remember, each one, reach one, teach one. Bye for now. Until next time, have a good night.